Welcome in, everyone. It is a good evening. This might not be a great evening going forward, but welcome to the stream. I appreciate you tuning in. And we're going to talk about the weather tonight. And I don't know if it's going to be like last Tuesday night, but it definitely could be similar, but let's hope it's not. Welcome, everyone, into the stream. And I'm going to give you the general sentiment from Barbie. And no, that's right. But unfortunately, we don't have a control over that. And yes, Abras making me anxious. Well, we're going to hopefully get rid of that anxiousness with some details. So the bottom line is this: we have a severe thunderstorm watch that's in effect until 2 a.m. for all of North Texas, really. As you can see in the yellow, even extends down to San Angelo. And you're going to see why in just a second. So let me just start by saying this: not everybody is going to see the worst of the worst. However, I think the coverage will actually be more than it was Tuesday night. Now, will it be as intense? That's a whole nother story. And we'll talk about that. So let's just look at the radar, see what's going on right now. So we do have a severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Parker County, the northwest part of Denton County, or excuse me, Tarrant County, and the southwestern part of Denton County. And for that storm that is, thank you, Lisa. Appreciate that. For that storm that's, if I put this in motion here, moving to the northeast. And so this storm has actually been sub-severe for the last 30 minutes or so, but it's kind of cranked up a little bit. And the hail size, I think it's warned for yeah, inch. So it's an inch. That's quarter size hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds. That's all radar indicated. So again, if you've been tuning in long enough, you know that an inch in diameter hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds are the minimum criteria for severe thunderstorm warning. So, and it's radar indicated, so it's not observed. So that's good. Doesn't mean that that's actually what's going on, but they definitely think it could go on with that storm. And we are going to go to a different screen here. Let's see if I can get this to work. All right, now let's go here. Oh, there we go. Could not get my mouse in the right spot. All right, so let's go to a broader picture here. Okay, so I just like to show this because this is from the Storm Prediction Center. These are our severe weather outlooks, and everything in the yellow, which includes Dallas Fort Worth. This is from now to the overnight periods. It's a slight risk of severe thunderstorms, and that includes all hazards, tornadoes, hails, and damaging winds. Now we're going to talk about the details here in just a second. Not really terribly worried about tornadoes. It's really the hail is the bigger concern. But this is again well within the slight risk area, so it's not something that we, in a general sense, we're going to be able to get away from. But I do want to show you the particulars. So this is let me zoom in a little bit here. All right, so kind of get your bearings. So Dallas Fort Worth right here, Ardmore. So this green is the 2% tornado risk area. And again, if you remember, it is something that if you're in a 2% risk area, it means there's a 2% chance of you seeing that particular risk, in this case, tornadoes, within 25 miles of a point, which I always like to say 25 miles of your house. Not great odds, but obviously better odds than in a normal day. But that is up in Oklahoma, and there's a tornado watch up there, so that makes sense. In the pink you see on the radar screen here is a severe thunderstorm watch, and that's until 2 a.m. And again, we're not really expecting tornadoes. Not that it couldn't happen, but we're not really expecting that in North Texas, at least not at this point. I think the greater chance for tornadoes is up in Oklahoma. That's why they have a tornado watch up there. So that's a 2% tornado risk. Now, again, what we want to really focus on tonight is the hail risk. And look at that. You don't like to see bright colors when you're talking about hail. So in this case, the hail is the 2% in the orange, the 5% in the yellow. Now I'll zoom in here a little bit to Dallas Fort Worth. So this hatched area, that is what we call a risk of large hail, 2 inches in diameter or greater. Now, again, does that mean everybody's going to see 2-inch hail in that hatched area? No. But the risk of it is for Dallas Fort Worth, it includes all the Metroplex. For any thunderstorm that wants to form in our area. And again, I'm going to show you a different radar here perspective in just a second. So that's the hail risk. So not great, obviously, and damaging wind. No hatched areas, thankfully, but again, a 5% chance of seeing severe wind gusts 60 miles an hour or greater within 25 miles of a point. Yes, Abra, I do not like that either, but I got to tell you how it is. All right, so let's go to the radar here and we'll zoom in. So the storm that's in, there's a lot of ground clutter here, so I apologize about that. Storm doesn't really look quite as impressive as it did maybe even 5 minutes ago, but we'll put this in motion. As you can see, the core's kind of gone up and down. It's like it's cycling down just a little bit, which is good. Uh, let's see. So let's put the hydrometer classification on there. Yeah, so nothing. Some purples there. That's really not much hail. So again, they warned the storm for inch diameter hail. I have a feeling that they have the weather service has said, I don't know if they'll cancel the warning early, but it's definitely not looking as impressive as it was. I'm going to show you some more impressive stuff here in just a second. Not in the immediate Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex, thankfully. So I know it's hard to make out. I was trying to find a radar that all this ground clutter is doesn't help you. Let's see if I can go to a different radar. Maybe that'll help. Let's try this. So it might be a little better. Yeah, it's a little better. Okay, so let's zoom in a little bit. Put this in motion. So again, you saw some pinks there. You don't see near as many pinks in that storm as you used to. So if you live, in Hazlitt, North Lake, Justin, I don't think it's going to hit Trophy Club per se. It's going to be close. So it's just something you want to watch the next 30 minutes or so. Even if you live in Denton, if you have friends that live in Denton, just give them a heads up. They may have some weather coming their way. That this storm again has pulsed up and down. And right now, when it was pulsing up, that's when the weather service issued the severe thunderstorm warning. It's kind of pulsing down. I don't think they're going to cancel it early just because it could pulse back up, and they don't want to go back and forth. Uh, so that's the only immediate threat to the Dallas Fort Worth area right now is this storm here. Now, what's causing all this? Well, other than it being spring, we have a couple of factors in play here, and let's go to a summary slide. All right, so this is what we can expect overnight. It is something that it could be a night to where you get woken up. Hopefully not, and hopefully if you do get woken up, it's only about the rain and wind, not the hail. But so right now, these scattered thunderstorms. We kind of thought they were going to develop a little bit later, but they developed earlier, which you can take as good or bad. It's kind of the pre-show, if you will. Unfortunately, I think overnight is when we have a chance to see some rougher weather. Not for everybody, but as you can see in this circled area, this hatched, not really hatched, but this circled area, I guess, it's kind of the southern part of the Metroplex down into central Texas is probably where we're thinking the biggest threat will be. And the timing is probably hard to read, but out west, 8 to 2 a.m., that's kind of already happening. Northeast of Dallas, 10 p.m. to 3 a.m., and then everything down near Waco, 11 p.m. to 10 a.m. That's quite the range. But again, large hail is the main threat, damaging winds to a lesser extent. So I'm going to pause in just a second and answer some questions or take some comments. Thank you, Rhonda. I see your question. I'll get to that in a second. Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you, Dak. I appreciate that. I'm playing with my new toy, so hopefully I don't mind that. And good old Kelly, you're welcome. I just like all this severe weather and hail. So do I. Okay, Rhonda, how about Carrollton? So really no different than what I've been talking about all night long, or all night long. It may feel like all night long later, but as far as this, so far we've been talking about this in the stream, is that Carrollton, timing wise, unless something pops up, probably after 11 p.m., the storm in Denton County will probably miss you to the northwest. Now things could change, but so right now it's something that. Thank you, Abra. I appreciate that. You're not so bad yourself. So it is something that most of the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex, other than this storm that's going through northwest Tarrant County and southwest Denton County, um, you know, Right now we're in the clear. I think it's going to be one of those issues where, unfortunately, it's going to be an overnight thing. Haven't even talked about tomorrow and the rest of the week. We'll get to that in a second. But so that's kind of what we're looking at. We're looking at an overnight thing, which quite frankly sucks because you just want to go to bed. You don't want to have to worry about storms overnight. And again, this is where I would go back to my preaching about having a NOAA weather radio at night. We all look at our phones, and some of us have our alerts on our phones on, some turn them off because I know they get pretty annoying. So that's why having a weather radio is the best thing to have, because it will wake you up. It's not dependent upon a, cell signal or anything like that. If you don't have one, I would encourage you to get one. It's really important, especially during overnight storms. Miss Kara, so there's been outflow boundaries in previous storms. Sometimes they have less than the severity of storms that come through. Do you see an outflow boundary for tonight? Great question, Kara. I do not. It's not that the atmosphere is not really set up that way. I know where you're going with that. And matter of fact, let's go back to the radar. And I'm actually going to show you this different ones. Probably I may do this. And as you can see, since we've been talking, you got these storms forming. Nothing severe, but it's definitely something that's going to be watched. So these storms are supercellular. Of course, these storms out here aren't supercells yet. They could be. This one, I would say, is marginally a supercell right now. When these cells get isolated like this, it's not that they can't, project an outflow boundary, but it usually takes a couple of clusters, or excuse me, a couple of supercells to cluster together to form an outflow boundary that can kind of stabilize the air out ahead of it. So I can draw this real quick. So we got a isolated storm here, and then of course they're all kind of isolated here. Now, if they clear that, if they were to kind of all congeal and just get going, yeah, you could see an outflow boundary be generated and pushed this way. Well, that's a horrible error. There we go. If that were to happen, Kara, that could stabilize atmosphere. It's happened before. I think that's where might be what you're thinking of. Is it has saved us before. I don't see that saving us. Actually, what I do see saving us potentially is our good buddy, the cap or capping inversion. That's a layer of warm air above us. Now, the cap out west was, weaker, and I think I can roughly draw it here. So there's a dry line right here, and of course, a dry line separates warm, humid air from dry air here, and that's you had these storms initially form off the dry line this late this afternoon and move east northeast. And however, in the most recent balloon upper air sounding that they launched at 7 p.m., there's still a moderately strong cap above the metroplex. Now, that doesn't mean that storms can't happen. It's just that it's still moderately strong, not as strong as it was earlier today, but it's not weak either. So, what does that mean for Dallas Fort Worth overnight? Well, a couple things. One is, if the cap does not change, then it's not that we wouldn't have storms, but hopefully the storms would be less intense. Now, if this, and a lot of times what happens at night is, in these situations, put this dry line back on here, which is probably not the most accurate, but you get the point. Is that a lot of times what happens at night, due to pressure falls in the atmosphere, it will retreat back to the west, and that's where convergence along the line kind of goes back to the west, and that kind of saves us some. Not really the way the upper level pattern is right now. That probably won't happen this time. The dry line will actually kind of hang around. And so as long as it's hanging around during the overnight hours, then we could see these storms. And it just takes one storm to really bust the cap, to cause problems. Even if the cap is moderate across the rest of the metroplex, if a storm just can really get going, which, believe it or not, tonight it really that hasn't happened, at least in the North Texas area. And so that's, hopefully that trend will continue. But if not, that's why I always go back to say, if you have a weather radio, then that is something that you definitely want to get overnight, because you just want to know if it is going to, if something bad's coming your way. You just want to wake up just in case you need to. Okay, so let's put this in motion. And again, the movement's northeast. Uh, there's really not there's no purple anymore, so there's no hail core even right now. It could ramp back up, but so if you're like I said, if you're in Southwest Denton County, you're probably okay. Just so what we do have to also watch for, and this storm is not anything right now. This storm is not anything to be too concerned about. What we have to watch out for is these storms are moving this way, and if any of these supercells actually become a right mover, and what that means is the mean motion here is northeast, but if this storm starts to take a turn this way, let's say that's a right mover, or we call it a deviant motion, then that's when you have to kind of really be careful about it becoming a big hailstorm. That doesn't mean it's always going to do that. It's just that that's something you just want to watch for. So if you see a storm going, and these storms are going to be moving northeast. So if you see that storm that's been moving northeast all the time and then makes a right turn, that's when you got to start getting nervous. But right now we don't really see that. Uh, but let's zoom in a little bit more here. All right, so I'm going to put this in motion, and so far no concern. Although you see, this storm's probably getting going a little bit. Looks like, so it's probably something you want to watch. But again, Dallas County here, Collin County is fine. Now this storm down here, this is something that's been kind of a nasty thing the last couple of hours. And this storm, which is near southwest of Stephenville, so if you know anybody down that way, let them know. Um, yeah. Okay, I gotta put that up there. Yes, I love it in all caps. A deviant motion sounds bad. Yeah, it is bad. For deviant is kind of a bad word anyway, or me has a bad connotation, I should say. Yeah, so that's why it's kind of has a negative connotation, because the deviant motion of a storm is usually means bad things. So you nailed that. You nailed that, Abra. You capitalized deviant, it made me laugh. But anyway, so let me before I go back into that storm, Kara had a good comment. Let's see, if you know of a good radio, I would like if you could share. Yes, I can. In the meantime, Dan the Carol D Weatherman has a service you can sign for $15 and you get a phone call, text it. I am so glad that you mentioned that, Kara, because yes, so I've heard about the Carol D service, the $15 annually. You can get a phone call or a text or email. You can do all that if you have service, and I'm not knocking it totally. It's just that I'll send a link. I don't think I could do it while I'm live streaming, but I'll do it afterwards. Well, I don't think I can. Hold on. I know let me check something real fast. Yep, nope, can't do that. Okay. Well, I could if you're watching on YouTube, but I know I don't have a ton watching on YouTube right now. So, anyway, so back to the service you talked about. So yeah, that is I would look at that as a backup. I look at that as, because if you have cell service or you have Wi-Fi service, yes, you'll get all that. But if you don't have cell service, then my understanding anyway, could be wrong. My understanding is that wouldn't really do you any good. You wouldn't get the phone call, you wouldn't get the text or email. So that's why the weather radio is not dependent upon cell signals. It's not really dependent upon anything because it's broadcast over a frequency like your AM FM radio, different frequency, of course. But you're always going to get it, even if you don't have power. You're always going to get cell towers go down. You're always going to get that signal from your weather radio. So I will put the link in the chat when we're done here. But great point though. It never hurts to have a backup. Yeah, love the Storm Shield app from Abra. You can customize alerts and have it set to notify. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I have the Storm Shield app too, Abra, and I do like it. And again, it's all great, unless you don't have a cell signal. So that's why I'm always going to go back to. I mean, and by the way, those services are great. I have them myself. I don't have what Kara mentioned, but I do have Storm Shield. And so I get it. Those are great things to have. I just always look at them as a secondary thing, because if you don't have cell service or Wi-Fi, it just doesn't do you any good. So that's why I just want to just make sure everybody understands that. Okay, so let's go back to this nasty storm down near Stephenville. So this hail core is really going. This is one of these supercells that we were fearing that would form earlier. So this is a radar indicated 2 3/4 inch hail. It's getting close to baseball, people. 65 mile an hour wind gusts. Now these are radar indicated. I don't think we've seen anything on the ground as far as ground reports of the hail being that big, but you can definitely see the purple. Now that's in the reflectivity, but if you go to the which is not always the greatest indicator, but where you see these yellow splotches, that is large hail. So it's this is just like I said, just southwest of Stephenville. So, and I want to say I don't know if it's going to miss Stephenville. Yeah, it looks like the worst of the hail is going to miss Stephenville proper. But I would say and by the way, if you're just joining us, this is not Dallas Fort Worth. But if you kind of do a track like this, and this is over an hour or two, but if you know people or have family that live, in the Walnut Springs and Hillsboro, Maypearl, down that way, just give them a heads up because that's could be headed their way. And then there's another supercell that way down here near Hamilton. Not going to really affect neither one of these cells would affect the metroplex. Again, just and we'll put these in motion. But this is what we're dealing with, and this is certainly something that could happen in the metroplex. That's why we gotta kind of watch this tonight. But again, these motions are east northeast, I would say. So these are the real deal, unfortunately. And actually, if we go, I don't know if the Georgetown, yeah, it's not gonna show. I might look at Abilene. Yeah, definitely. Now, again, this is a radar looking from the west to east into the storm, to whereas the Fort Worth radar is looking down toward the southwest. So, it's a similar picture, obviously. All right, let's go back and check on our storm up in North Texas and seeing a little bit more of a hail core here. And like I said, this storm has been pulsing up and down, and this is the classic thing I just talked about in the sense of the cap. So this updraft gets strong, and like right now, it's kind of on an upward tick. Don't know how long it'll stay upward, but it's got a little hail core again. It might go back down. That's where the cap is. Again, I think Abra said it. That's where the cap is our friend. It's not the greatest to see hail, but it's probably keeping it under control to where down here. My guess is that these have totally breached the cap. Excuse me. And that's why you're seeing those. You would not want to be under those storms. And those storms are going to stay south of us, but it's something that we definitely want to keep an eye on. Okay, so I am going to let's talk about a little bit further ahead and we'll come back. So we've talked about tonight, and we looked at that slide already. Let's go to this one. What about tomorrow? If tonight's not enough of a bummer. Tomorrow may be worse. Now, I say that with all caution because it doesn't mean everybody's going to see all the worst of the worst. It's just that the setup is a little bit stronger, more favorable and more widespread severe weather. So, as you can see in the yellow here, is that what we're expecting is a chance of strong to severe thunderstorms. We're going to have a cold front, dry line move through sometime in the afternoon. Now, if the front's a little sooner, then we won't have much to worry about. If it's a little bit later, afternoon or evening, then we'll have more to worry about. So again, the main threats are hail and high winds. So tornado threat's not very big. It's probably a little bit greater tomorrow than it is tonight, but not terribly so. And if you look at it from a bigger picture, you see this is the categorical look. And again, the light green is just general thunderstorms. The darker green is marginal risk. The yellow is slight, and in this case, the orange is enhanced. All that's probably the really bad weather is going to be up in Arkansas, as you can see. But the tornado threat tomorrow is Dallas East. The hail threat tomorrow. That's actually tonight. My bad. Again, we were looking at that earlier. Let's see if and so here's a severe wind threat. Again, the vast majority of things are going to be up in Arkansas, Missouri, and such. All right. And then if that's not enough for you, then our next chance for severe weather after tomorrow will be Wednesday. Now this is going to change a little bit because it's 5 days out, but it just I just want you to be prepared. It's going to be a stormy week. It's not going to be stormy every single second of every day this coming week, but it's we are going into classic severe weather season. So this is going to be the case. It's the end of March, 1st of April coming up, and we got a good 2 months of this left, give or take. Now, if you lived here in Texas, then that's not a big surprise to you, but still, it's still no fun to go through. All right, so let's go back to the radar. All right, so not much happening. Yeah, the only I'm just looking at storm reports. The only hail reports we've gotten just now coming in are from those storms near Stephenville, 2-inch hail, which I'm not surprised. Not for us though, thankfully. At least not yet, and hopefully not at all. All right, so I'm going to go back to. Let's go look at this another screen here. We'll see if this works. Yeah, again, the ground clear is horrible, but just a different radar, slightly different vantage point. Let's see if I can zoom in on this a little bit. What's that? Yeah, so this. Yeah, I don't want that one. So that's reflectivity. So these are echo tops. This just shows how tall the storm is, and you can see, these get pretty tall here. Let's see. Yeah, 40 feet, 43,000 feet. This one 45. So again, that's where you're going to see the hail core. Let's see if we can. Yeah, not much of a hail core right now, so that's actually good. All right, so let's get rid of that. Put this in motion. Fort Worth right here, downtown Dallas right here. So this one's pulsing up, pulsing down, and these storms right behind it are not too bad. They're behaving themselves, so that's good. Just for grins, we could look at velocity. And the good news is, like I said, there's not really a tornado threat with this kind of setup, so we don't really have to worry about that. Thank goodness. Okay, let's see. What else do we have before we? Okay, I got to check out my Instagram comments real quick. Is there snow coming? There is not. And you're my role model. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Did I miss anything over here? Nope. Didn't miss much on Instagram. Okay, but it's not on the same screen, so I gotta go back and look at that. Yeah. Oh, Avarice got a perfect analysis for us. April showers, spring flowers is what I've heard. Yes, I think you heard correctly on that one. Probably gonna have quite a few showers, so we should have quite a few May flowers, I would say. All right, so let's get rid of this. So I don't know if you're gonna. I don't think the Weather Service is going to extend this warning. It goes until the Denton County warning. It goes until 10:15. So it's about 15 more minutes. Unless that storm just really kicks into high gear, which it could. I doubt they'll extend that warning. All right, so let's. Am I missing anything so far? I think I got all the comments. Let's see. All right. I think that's it. All right, let's zoom out a little bit. All right, so these storms south of DFW, like I said, these storms are just, just not no fun to be around. That's for sure. Let's see. That's probably the same. No, it's a different discussion. Okay, so this is a mesoscale discussion, and this is something that the Storm Prediction Center puts out. And it just kind of gives an update on what we're doing with certain things, certain severe weather scenarios. So, you know, uh, I'm not gonna read all those technical details to you, but the long and short of it is this mesoscale discussion just doesn't quite reach the metroplex. Obviously, it's not a true finite boundary. I mean, it could be a little bit off. So it goes, ironically, it goes back to what Kara was saying earlier. So if these storms do start to cluster, which there's a chance it could, then the threat goes from large hail to damaging wind. Neither one's fun, but I think that I think I know which one I'd pick as far as give me large hail or give me wind. I think I'll give me wind. Wind's not great, but typically you have a better chance of wind unless it's like 89 miles an hour. That's different. But I don't see that kind of scenario. I certainly don't see a scenario like last May. Not tonight anyway. Tomorrow maybe a different story. So let me end with this. Unless there's other comments that pop up, I'll answer those. I don't see any yet. But the bottom line is this: is that well, first and foremost, if you're just joining us, hopefully you can go back and watch it if you just joined us at the beginning. But we have severe thunderstorm watch until 2 a.m. The biggest threat with this severe thunderstorm watch is 2-inch hail or greater. Not everybody's going to see that. Just let me make that clear. But that's probably the worst case scenario. I wouldn't be shocked, depending on how the storms evolve overnight. I wouldn't be shocked if they, extend this warning a little bit more, or if the cap really gets going and says, "I'm done with these storms," then we'll all have a nice, pleasant evening, and then we'll do it all again tomorrow. So, excuse me, severe thunderstorm watch till 2 a.m. From a timing standpoint, again, the greatest threat's going to be in that circled area right up here. And then, but again, DFW is pretty much in that, especially DFW South. Storms are ongoing out here in Area 1, Area 2 in Northeast Texas. Just get going at 10 p.m., excuse me. Haven't really got going yet. And then, of course, down south, 11 to 10, and they've already got going down here. So they're a little ahead of schedule down here. Again, biggest threat's large hail. And this whole time period is in Dallas-Fort Worth, is from 8 p.m. to 10 a.m. tomorrow. Now, again, during that whole time, you're not going to see bad weather. And just like always in these situations, some of you will not see a drop of rain. Very unlucky few will see some pretty good storms. Hopefully that's nobody, but decent chances are this, at least some people will see that. Hopefully not a lot, if any. All right, so that is that. And again, for tomorrow, and this will change a little bit. It always will. Overnight, it'll change. But it is something that, in a general sense, this cold front dry line combination will give us another chance for storms. And then again, if that's just not enough for you, then on our next big severe weather day is Wednesday, the season that we are in. And then I don't think I touched on this slide yet. Yeah. So again, after Wednesday, chance on Thursday, chance on Friday. I don't think they'll be severe, but they could. And it's just going to be one of those weeks. And well, I was going to say, hope you don't mind hearing me, but sadly, you'll probably hear me for the reasons you don't want to be hurt. Come on and talk about severe weather, but I'll definitely be here to talk to you about severe weather. And if I have a chance, depends on the setup, you may see me out in the field. That's kind of what I don't hope for bad weather, but if it calls for it, I don't mind going out there. Or if not, you'll see me in the studio right here. All right, let's go back to the radar one more time. And this is, this time of night when it's humid like this, it is because the humidity at my house. Let's see, what's the dew point? 65. The temperature is 73. So we call that 73 over 65. And anytime you get that kind of short spread in the dew point temperature, there's a lot of moisture out there. And it really reflects off the radar, which is, you can't see anything. I mean, you can. Let's put this in motion. It's just not very clear. So again, general east-northeast movement. There is nothing immediate in the Metroplex to be concerned about. We do have that one severe thunderstorm warning. Really, I would say for Southwest Denton County. And there's a couple of storms that want to move up from the southwest from that, but they don't appear to be severe. The bigger severe storms are down here south of Steveville, heading toward Hillsborough, and probably eventually toward Waco. So if you know someone down there, just kind of give 'em a heads up and say, "Hey, just watch those storms to the west." And if they hold together, they'd be there midnight-ish or something like that. If the situation changes drastically between now and whenever, I will come back on and give everybody an update on what's going on. I really don't hope I don't have to do that, but I might. And if I do, that's fine. Then we will get it going for you again on the live stream. All right, so let's make sure I'm not missing anything else. Don't think so. No other things, no other comments in the chat. All right, so I really appreciate everybody. When I put this, let me stop this here. I really appreciate everybody watching. I really do. I love keeping y'all informed, and hopefully we can all be safe and have a good night's sleep and not worry about it. And then, like I said, we'll do all this tomorrow. Now, again, the last thing I'll say about tomorrow is that again, if the front's here before, we may not see a whole lot. It may all be east and south of us. So this tomorrow's no guarantee that we're going to see um, bad weather. It's just right now there's a decent chance we will. So all right. Anything else on Instagram? I don't see anything on Instagram. No comments. Other than I got the snow comments. I got that. And I appreciate you too, Kara. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Let's and when I sign off, I will go on the Facebook chat on this post and I'll post a link to a weather radio that I think people should get if they don't have one. Because again, these overnight things, and again, like I said, it's not everybody's going to see everything tonight. Hopefully most of us will see nothing. But just set that weather radio up to where, and by the way, it does get complicated. About if you have trouble, just let me, contact me. I'll help you program it. But the way these weather radios work with the alerts is, I get it. That's they're not. And by the way, they're not soft. I mean, they're loud. They're designed that way because they're supposed to wake you up out of a deep sleep. So that's the one thing that you have to know. If you have one of these, then it's going to wake you up. However, you can just program it to only go off when your county has a warning. Now, me being a weather geek, I have all the counties go off for me. But it's something that if you just want, like if you live in Dallas County, you just want to go off for Dallas County, you can do it. Collin County, same thing. If you live in Saxe or anywhere around Saxe, Wiley, Murphy, where we're kind of split between Dallas and Collin County, I would highly recommend that when you get it, that you program for those two counties. Now, I would also say that if you want even more of a heads up, you can program it for four counties: Dallas, Collin, Denton, and Tarrant, because that way, if you get a warning for Tarrant or Denton, um, typically they're going to come from that direction. But again, I get it. You may not want to be that far out, and that's fine. I would just encourage you to get one, and I'll put a link in the chat when I sign off here in a second to give you an idea of an easy way to get it. All right, I don't see anything else. So I really appreciate everyone tuning in. As always, I'm watching the weather, so you don't have to. Stay safe, everybody. Hopefully, we'll have a uneventful night, and then we'll probably be talking again tomorrow in some form or fashion. With that, I bid you adieu. Have a great evening, what's left of it, and we will talk to you soon.